Greetings to you, Crocoduck Army. I remember back almost 5 years ago when I started making videos and got my first few hundred subscribers. I was instantly beset by a group of people I'd never heard of before, at least not what they were calling themselves. They peppered me with questions on the Holocaust and other nonsense about how anti-racist means anti-white, on videos that had nothing to do with that topic. I quickly learned that these racists, or race realists as they called themselves, had come to badger me because most of the well-known YouTubers had simply blocked them already, and not yet knowing much about my views, thought maybe I'd give them a platform. They tried to coax me by flattery at first, saying that I seemed intelligent and educated, and that maybe I wouldn't be afraid to take a strong stand on the issue of race, whatever that meant. I made a video on the subject completely refusing to buy their Holocaust denial or racism and moved on to other topics, not wanting to dwell on such useless ideologies. I could only stand about 5 minutes a year beating the skeleton of a dead horse. The racists I've encountered in this corner of YouTube have tried to repackage themselves from the old stereotypes. They want us to know that they bear almost no intellectual resemblance to the old caricatures of their movement. The highly religious southern rural folk who would never date outside their race, but also might not be able to suppress their amorous intentions toward their livestock forever. Yes, for the record, I realize that racism exists in every geographic region and religious belief. These racists tell us that they're students of science, and they'll ask us questions like, do you think evolution stopped from the neck up? The missing piece for that question, compared to the existence of evolution in general, is that the research on this topic doesn't indicate with any degree of confidence that any race is measurably more intelligent, much less even approaching the kind of consensus necessary to make it accepted knowledge. Yeah, but James Watson said that black people are less intelligent, and he helped discover DNA. Yes, and Michael Behe is a fully credentialed biochemist who thinks it's necessary that God must have had direct involvement in evolution in order for it to have occurred. Consensus seems to be forgotten by science-minded racists when it's convenient, and I'm not even sure that there's any research on the matter that is as useful to racists as they think it is. Another difficulty in this research is that we haven't even come to a consensus on how to reliably measure innate intelligence at all, much less be able to factor adequately for life experience, culture, and institutionalized discrimination. I've even seen several racists point to men of African descent being well endowed, as meaning that obviously they have less brain power. If they think that one must follow the other, then I can't imagine that their understanding of evolution is much better than the average creationist. Then they start talking about crime statistics. As Doc Holliday said in one of my favorite movies, "I'm your huckleberry, that's just my game." I'm a stats guy. It factors heavily into my work, actually, and I can tell you firsthand that it can be very difficult for people to understand if they don't work with it every day. When racists point out violent crime stats, they'll point to black on white crime and white on black crime and try to compare the two in ways that are intellectually dishonest. As a percentage within those groups, yes, the crime rates are different between the races, but there are much more accurate ways of predicting criminality that the racists are completely ignoring, of course. Economic factors are actually a much better predictor of criminality, and familial factors around upbringing and criminal association are an even better predictor than that. Race alone is a terrible predictor of criminality, and any predictive value in it is likely based on third variables, like institutionalized racism itself. I'll include a link in the info bar that explains it in more detail. And for a more general study of the causes of success based on geography, the book and the documentary Guns, Germs, and Steel is excellent. Assuming race is the basis for criminality is just a lazy decision for those who don't want to bother to figure out what actually drives human behavior, because that might actually take a tiny bit of effort on their part. Clearly the racists want something from us, since they show up wanting to talk about race incessantly when nobody really wants to talk about it most of the time around here. But what is it they want? Do they want social acceptance? They'll often talk about how natural it is for humans to be a little bit racist, and I wouldn't even dispute that, except that for most people it's trivially easy to shake that off when they meet someone of another race if they do harbor some misconceptions. But somehow for racists it's a big obstacle. I'm not sure how their obstacle is my problem, since they seem to be happy to judge people more decisively based on their race, and I have no interest in judging people as they do. So given that nobody around here seems interested in becoming a racist, or accepting racist ideas, or making the world a better place for racists, what do you rebranded race realists want in life? Be specific. What does your perfect America look like? And how would you get there? I've asked this before in comments, and I usually get a lot of ducking and dodging. This is your video, so tell us about your trials and tribulations. And also, oh, whoops. Well, you look at the time. Your 5 minutes is up. I'm glad that's over. Maybe we'll talk about it again next year.